So, this experiment, it's gonna need a bit of context to it. Basically, the former England, Liverpool, Stoke City and current Burnley striker Peter Crouch, he's got his own podcast called That Peter Crouch Podcast, which if you've not listened to already, you should go and listen to it. It's a pretty good podcast. He does a podcast with two guys, Chris Stark and Tom Fordyce, both from the BBC, and the three of them have sort of put this idea forward that they're going to do a music festival known as CrouchFest. Now, a friend of mine hosted a music festival for his 18th birthday party in his back garden, but 5 years on from that, we've turned it into a 2,000 capacity music festival event in the middle of Lincolnshire called Beyond the Woods Festival. Tickets are now on sale from just £35. If you want to grab yourself one, link in the description. My role at this festival, Beyond the Woods Festival, is head of sanitation. That's like, it's a glamorous role. Not really, it's not a really glamorous role at all, is it? But it's my job. I'm the one who sort of leads a team of volunteers that goes and picks up rubbish, make sure toilets are stocked up with all the essential items, things like that. Anyway, the link here is between CrouchFest and Beyond the Woods Festival is that on a recent podcast, Chris Stark and Tom Fordyce, they both said, well, we need volunteers. We need someone to be head of toilets. As opposed to quote every single contestant on Love Island this year. My head was turned. So I decided to send a pretty jovial tweet to Chris Stark and Tom Fordyce, and I said to them, look, I do this at Beyond the Woods Festival. I'm head of sanitation there. If you need someone to make sure there's not an outbreak of cholera at the O2 Arena, I'm your man. Obviously, didn't actually expect to hear anything back and didn't expect anything to happen from it, so I just completely forgot about the tweet. Until Tuesday. So Tuesday comes around and I get a DM on Twitter from a guy called Elliot, and he says to me that he's working on CrouchFest, and essentially he asks me if I'm free on Saturday to come down to London to the O2 Arena and actually be the head of toilets. He also says, can I have your number please, so I can give you a call about it as well. That'd be good. So I did what anyone would do when a random person asks for your phone number on the internet. I gave it to him. He gave me a call and he basically just invited me down to the O2 on Saturday to come and be the head of toilets, which is mental. Like, it's such a weird situation, and just from a tweet as well. Just from a tweet. So as you're watching this, which should be on Saturday, because you should be subscribed to the channel with notifications turned on so you never miss a video and you get alerted every time I upload a new video. As you watch it, I should be actually at the O2 right now, potentially cleaning toilets, potentially something else, but there's a real possibility of actually cleaning toilets, which, I mean, it's not great, is it? But it got me thinking, Tom, you need to capitalise on this opportunity. You know, potentially this could go out to loads of people, so I need to make the most of it. And seeing as Peter Crouch is currently playing for Burnley Football Club, I thought, well, how about I just delete every single Burnley player and then replace them with Peter Crouch? So we have an entire Burnley squad made up of Peter Crouches. And so here we are in the game on the Burnley team screen, and as you can see, every single player is Peter Crouch. Every single player is Peter Crouch. Every Peter's got the exact same attributes. I've copied and pasted pretty much the attributes from the actual Peter Crouch into every other Peter Crouch player on here. Now, it's not really an easy way of doing this. I thought there might be an easy way of doing it in the pre-game editor where I could just delete every player and then copy and paste Crouch, but it's not quite as simple as that. So what I did instead, which is, it took a long time, it was painstakingly long, but what I did, I went into the game, went into the in-game editor and just edited everyone's name, everyone's weight, everyone's height, everyone's date of birth, and every single individual attribute to the same as Peter Crouch. It took a while, and I don't want to do it ever again. What it means is we've got exact carbon copies of Peter Crouch in every single Peter Crouch on here. They've got different playing histories, because I haven't been able to change that, but essentially, it is Peter Crouch. Now, the only thing that I haven't changed are player positions. I did a test of this where I changed everyone to a striker as well, but that was awful. Like, Burnley finished bottom of the Premier League on 0 points. And I thought, well, we need to try and make it a bit more interesting than that. So what I've done is I've kept everyone's position from before they were edited. For example, Ben Mee is a Burnley player. He's a centre-back. So there is a centre-back here, Peter Crouch. That used to be Ben Mee, but he's not Ben Mee anymore. He's Peter Crouch with the exact same attributes as Peter Crouch. It is Peter Crouch. He's just Peter Crouch really desperate to be a centre-back. Or, for example, this guy is Peter Crouch, who's really desperate to be a central midfielder sort of thing. Now, there is a really easy way to find the actual real-life Peter Crouch. Now, if we sort it by value, because everyone's still got their value from before I changed names and things like that and changed the attributes. So everyone's still got that value because I've not gone forward at all. It's still like exactly the first day of the season, whatever. So if we go and sort it by value and we go to the cheapest player on the squad, this Peter Crouch, this is the actual Peter Crouch, and we can confirm this through his history here. Only valued at 140k, which, you know what? I'd take being valued at 140k. I'm not sure Peter would, but I would take it. Either way, this is the way to find out the real Peter Crouch, because he's valued at least, basically. So there we go. That's how we find the real Peter Crouch. So the plan is basically just to go on holiday for a few seasons and just sort of come back every season and see how the team of Peter Crouch have got on. Hopefully, they'll win a Champions League, but something tells me it might not happen. Given that Peter Crouch at the start of this save file, at the start of the season, is 37 years old, they've not really got much time to win the Champions League before all of them retire. We're on limited time here, so we have to do it quickly if that's going to happen. There's also the worry, of course, that Burnley might sign players to replace Peter Crouch. But to make sure that doesn't happen, I've put a transfer embargo on Burnley as well, so they can't sign players for the next 2 or 3 seasons. So that's fine by me as well. And now, because of a really bizarre set of circumstances where I'm going to CrouchFest to clean the toilets, I'm about to simulate a season or 2 in the future where Burnley have got a team of Peter Crouches. I can't quite get my head around either. Either way though, before we do go into the future, I'd really appreciate it if you could drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. It'd be great to have you on board. We've got plenty of different content and videos on the channel. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So I'd love to have you on board. So if you do subscribe, brilliant. Thank you very much. If you don't subscribe, piss off, Carl. Right, so we've simulated a season then of Peter Crouch, and hopefully they've survived. Hopefully they've not been relegated from the Premier League. Hopefully they've got Champions League and actually won it. That would make more sense to me. But if we go to the Premier League then, and we'll sort of see what's happened. I love to see that Burnley, a team of Peter Crouches, have avoided relegation. All right, if you had 11 Peter Crouches on the football pitch, they would apparently do better than Wolves, Huddersfield, and Cardiff. I love that. That's absolutely crazy. So let's have a look at this table then. Burnley, they played 38 games, won 7, drew 10, and lost 21. I mean, it's not the best, is it really? 44 goals scored, 64 against. It's not amazing out there, but they didn't get relegated. They escaped relegation by 4 points, to be fair. That's a big margin. Peter Crouch single-handedly has stayed in the Premier League. I think that's an achievement. Right then, let's have a look at this Burnley side then. So manager is still Sean Dyche, but captain Peter Crouch, vice-captain Peter Crouch, key player Peter Crouch. Hot prospect is this guy. He must be a regen. He's 15 years old, so he's a regen that's come through this past season. I presume they're in the under-23 squad. So we'll get rid of all the regens to make sure there's no chance of anyone else getting into the side other than Peter Crouch. So we'll do that in a minute, but it's just Peter Crouch. I think it's amazing. Let's look at this squad then, all right? Let's look at the squad. We've got literally Peter Crouch everywhere. Everywhere you see Peter Crouch. Quite a few of them are retiring. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 10 Peter Crouches retiring at the end of the season. Now, that could be an issue. Losing 10 players. They can't sign any more players. They'll be down to bare bones Peter Crouch, basically. This experiment might not go on for very long, but you know what? We'll make the most of it whilst it lasts, and Peter Crouch is still on the side. 10 of them retiring is a lot. Let's go to selection info then, and let's sort it by goals. Peter Crouch has scored 29 goals this season. Right. Let's see if this is the actual Peter Crouch, or like a fake Peter Crouch. If we look at the history, it's not the actual real Peter Crouch. I think looking at this, it's actually Chris Wood, who obviously plays for Burnley as a striker and has been around a bit. I think, yeah, he used to play at Leeds, didn't he? I think this is Chris Wood, and he's managed to score 19 goals in the league and 29 overall with some in the continental competitions. Oh, of course, because Burnley had to play in the Europa League at the start of this season. They finished 7th in 2 seasons ago, technically for us now. So let's see how far they got in the Europa League as well, because that'd be pretty mental. So Chris Wood, Peter Crouch, has scored... I mean, I don't understand how, because if we look at... He's got the exact same attributes as the real-life Peter Crouch, and yet he's managed to score 19 goals. I don't think Peter Crouch has ever scored 19 league goals in his actual career. There's only 2 strikers, so I presume this one is the actual real-life Peter Crouch. With a shame, because he's retiring at the end of the season. This real-life Peter Crouch, who's... And this is what I don't understand as well. So real-life Peter Crouch and Chris Wood Peter Crouch, they are the exact same player. They've got the exact same attributes. And yet Chris Wood has played 49 games starting, whereas the actual Peter Crouch has only played 1. I mean, even when you try and make every single player Peter Crouch, the real-life Peter Crouch is still warming the bench. Real-life Peter Crouch, though, the most goals he's scored in a season in the league are 18 for Portsmouth in the Championship. His second best is 12 in the league, that is. Of course, in cup competitions, he'll scored more as well. But the real-life Peter Crouch can't score more than a carbon copy of Peter Crouch in a season. He's got 19 in a season. Like, it's just a bit unfair, isn't it, really? So the real-life Peter Crouch has made 7 appearances throughout the season, 7 substitute appearances, that is, in the league. He made 1 start in the continental competition, so 1 start overall, 14 substitute appearances, and got 2 goals. 1 in the cup, 1 in the Europa League. I mean, that's a shame, really, to see. You know, I'd expect to see Peter Crouch do better than that, especially when literally the carbon copy of Peter Crouch is done so much better. Fair play to Burnley. They actually got through all the qualifying rounds, or fair play to Peter Crouch, I should say. He got through all the qualifying rounds. They lost once to Bayer Leverkusen, Stade Rennais and AC Milan, but they did manage to get 2 draws and a win as well, so it wasn't all doom and gloom for Burnley in the Europa League. That's still a pretty good showing, I've got to say, considering it's just a team of Peter Crouches. Peter Crouch is beaten by Leverkusen single-handedly. It's impressive. So Peter lives on to fight another day in the Premier League then. He's got another season of Premier League football at Burnley. He was also the 3rd top goal scorer in the Premier League as well. I've just seen that as well. Peter Crouch, 19 goals, only 2 behind Harry Kane and Robert Firmino. I mean, Peter, if you're watching this, show this to Sean Dyche. You should be starting because you can get 19 goals in the Premier League. You should be starting. Either way, we've got another season to go. So I'm going to go and simulate one more season and we'll see if any Peter Crouches are actually left to investigate. So now we're here at the end of the 2019-2020 season. We'll go back to the Premier League and hopefully Burnley will have survived once again. Hopefully Peter Crouch has... to be fair, he's not done it, Peter Crouch, on his own, but 10 of them did leave the club. They did retire 10 of them, so there's not many Peter Crouches left, but they still only just got relegated, really. They're only 7 points away from safety, which isn't too far, to be fair, and actually, they didn't concede any more goals than they did the season before. They think that's twice now they've conceded 66, so they've been relegated. Peter's gotten relegated, I suppose. It is all Peter's fault when you think about it, but I think that's still pretty respectable, considering... they've probably not even got a full lineup, if I'm honest with ourselves. Right, so Burnley then. What's going on here then? Apparently there's no captain at the club anymore. So obviously another Peter Crouch has retired along the way. But the vice-captain Peter Crouch is still there and key player Peter Crouch is still there. Obviously the new regens have come through for this season as well. We'll get rid of those again, obviously, for next season because we don't want them hanging around too much. But if we go to the player screen then... okay. There really aren't many Peter Crouches left. They've literally gone for all their regens. All their regens are now in the first team, which is a bit weird. Those regens won't have been there all season, though. That's the thing. Those regens won't have been there all season, which means that for a lot of the season, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Peter Crouches will have been playing. If you don't have enough players in a team, Football Manager just automatically adds in like greyed out fake players that don't actually exist, but they're like placeholders, basically. So I assume Burnley will have a lot of placeholders this season, which is probably why they have been relegated. If we look at the selection info, not many Peter Crouches have been starting this season, actually, which is a shame. They've not started everything, which means that they've been picking greyed out fake players instead of Peter Crouch, which actually is an insult. What is quite amazing, though, this Peter Crouch, the striker one, which I assume is Peter Crouch, formerly Chris Wood, he's scored 18 goals this season. He's scored more goals this season as well, which is ridiculous. That is just crazy. That is stupid. Either way, he's gone and scored 16 league goals this season. He got doubled his assists as well, which is pretty good. But was 3 down on the goals. But is that still making him a top goal scorer? He's joint second in top goal scorer in the Premier League. So Peter Crouch, honestly, show us to Sean Dyche. Once he sees this, he's got to start you. He's got to start you. So it's been a bit of a disappointing season. They have finished bottom of the table in the Premier League, so we'll be in the Championship next season. It's also quite worrying that all but 2 Peter Crouches are transfer listed as well, which I assume means they're either going to be going or they're going to retire at the end of the season. I'm not looking... That's going to be a bit weird, but I'm not looking forward to that. But I suppose we'll go one more season in the future and see if any Peter Crouches are actually left next season, because... I'm not sure they will be. And so back now at the end of the 3rd season that we've simulated into the future, I think the transfer embargo might have finished. I'm not entirely sure. It might have done, though. I can't remember how long I set it for in the editor the other day when I did the editing for it. So we'll see what happens. But if we go to the Championship, of course, this time to see... Where is the Championship? Down here. Right, if we go to the Championship, look at the league table... Peter, come on, Peter. You've got them relegated again. I mean, they've only just again gone down. They were 6 points clear of Bristol Rovers, but Burnley have gone down. Peter Crouch isn't in the top 3, so maybe actually all the Peter Crouches have retired. This is something we need to investigate. As actually, yes, I think they have already. Obviously, the transfer embargo's finished because all these players have joined the club, but I can't actually see any Peter Crouches. If we go to the transfer history. Obviously, they've been very busy signing players this summer because they can actually sign players again. If we go to release players, yeah, all these Peter Crouches have retired. One left on a free transfer as well. Is this Peter Crouch playing for anyone who's retired? He's an assistant manager now. So unfortunately, Oh, Peter Crouch is... This is actually quite a short experiment. We only got 2 seasons out of Peter Crouch at Burnley, but he did a fantastic job of keeping them up and then getting them relegated. Personally, if they didn't retire and they stayed at another season, they would have easily got back to the Premier League. It's because they all retired. That's why Burnley have had another relegation. What it does throw up, though, are any Peter Crouches actually in a job somewhere? Like, we've got a few here, okay, so we'll walk down this list of Peter Crouches. One is the under-18s manager of Hitchin United. I mean, what a club that is. One's the under-18 manager of Burnley, so there's quite a difference there. This one is the assistant manager of Walsall, and this one's the manager of Fylde. This one's a scout for Lincoln City. I support Lincoln City, so that's good for me. Peter Crouch now a scout for Lincoln City. Is this the actual Peter Crouch? No. Unfortunately, this isn't the real one, and he never actually played for Burnley, so he can't have been that good in the first place either. The Peter Crouch who's the manager of Fylde, though, like that's an he was manager of Barnet as well for a while, so he's already been through 2 clubs. Is this the real Peter Crouch? This is actually the real Peter Crouch, this one, which is quite an interesting one. So out of all those players that we changed attributes for and renamed and stuff, the actual real Peter Crouch has gone on to be a manager of Fylde and Barnet. Clearly didn't do very well at Barnet. He was out of a job within the year. Can we actually see how he did with Barnet? So he was hired as a manager of Barnet, signed a few players. He won the FA Cup 4th qualifying round, but got knocked out the first round by Gillingham and then got sacked. I mean, what a career. What a career. So Peter Crouch was manager here in the 2020 season. So he must have started in pre-season because he made some signings, didn't he? And a good start to the season. I don't understand why he's been sacked, because this isn't a bad run of form at all. We didn't see any FA Trophy stuff in his achievement thing there. So he must have been sacked in between the Gillingham game and the Wealdstone game. But I don't think I think Barnet have been very harsh on Peter Crouch there. What are you on about? He's currently manager of Fylde, though, who are 12th in the National League, and I mean, recently it's not been very good at all. It's been very, very poor recently. Peter, sort this out. You need to do better than this. Either way, that's what Peter Crouch has done. And he might do it in real life. It'd be pretty mental if that actually happened, though. So I suppose that's that. We've had 2 seasons of Peter Crouch at Burnley, where Peter Crouch himself hasn't started any games, but a carbon copy of Peter Crouch has come 2nd and 3rd in Premier League top goal scorer in 2 seasons. After retiring, the real-life Peter Crouch is manager of Barnet and is now manager of Fylde. I mean, what a career. Given that they're all retired now, though, we can't really do much more, unfortunately. So that is going to be that. Thank you very much for watching today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have done, please do drop a like on the video. And if you want to subscribe, please feel free to. I'd really appreciate it if you did do. But again, if you don't want to subscribe, just piss off, Carl, really. If you don't actually listen to the podcast, that just sounds really rude of me. And I apologise profusely. I don't mean to be rude to you like that. But if you do listen to the podcast, you'll know exactly what I mean. And you'll press subscribe probably. I hope you do. Either way, there's going to be a subscribe button in the middle of the screen right now. And if you like what you've seen here today, you've got a choice of 2 more videos to watch. You can go and watch another experiment similar to this sort of style, or you can go and watch the Lincoln Loco series, where I'm taking my local non-league club, Lincoln United, off step 8 of the English Football League system, and we're taking them, hopefully, to the Champions League. So I'll see you in one of those videos. Goodbye.